Hey Dino Dudes, what's going on? It's me, the Meteoraptor, and I'm back with another movie review. Today I'm going to take a look at a 2005 action comic book movie from Robert Rodriguez that was written by Frank Miller. Yes folks, from the guy who brought us Batman The Dark Knight Returns, he also brought us, and he's more well known for this, he brought us the one and only, or at least the first, Sin City. Yep. So, I'm just going to dive right into this. First off, I have never read any of the Sin City comics, but after seeing this movie, I very much want to. And I happen to know only one of the two of the titles that this movie used. It was the yellow something, I can't remember the last part, and the big fat kill. And ultimately, this film had a surprisingly low budget, and it looked kind of cheap, but at the same time, it looked awesome. It's probably one of the best comic book movies I've seen in a while. That wasn't like Guardians of the Galaxy, happy, laughing, and all that. Like, this is better than The Dark Knight, it's better than Man of Steel. It's a dark, gritty comic book movie that works really well. The writing we got, I believe it's 3 stories? You know, that was my one big problem with this movie, is all the stories are somehow connected to each other, but there's really no clear way to know when one story ends and the next one begins, aside from one of them, which ends with the main character getting killed, which then segues into part 2 of the second story after the third story was done. Like, it's kind of hard to follow. But I'm just going to talk about the 2 stories that I knew the story to. In all of them, I'm just going to... Oh, hang on, right here. So there's the one that there's one when Bruce Willis, he's essentially he's a cop who's retired. He's trying to protect a young girl, played by Jessica Alba, who he saved... This was the first story, who he saved when she was 11. And the story ends with him being arrested. Then we have the second one, which is about we have Dwight, essentially. He goes to this place called Old Town, where like all the women live, and then they accidentally kill a cop, and it starts a war, and he has to try and help them. And then we kind of cut back to the one with Bruce Willis. And we then find out that the guy who he had blown his package open, if you know what I'm saying, and shot his ear off is okay, and he has to go back and he has to kill him in probably one of the most gruesome deaths I've ever seen put to film. And I'm not going to show it here because I don't want to get in trouble, but I will explain it. So he finds this guy. He finds Rourke Jr. is the guy's name. He stabs him in the stomach, punches him in the face, cauterizes, what's the right word? Castorizes him with his bare hand, like painfully castorizes him, and then beats his face until he's dead. Then we got to the other and my personal favorite story, which actually we have, what's his name again? Yeah, Mickey Rourke. He plays this guy named Marv. And essentially, he was in love with a woman. She was killed. He was blamed. And now he's on this violent quest to find out who killed her and try and avenge her with the help of her sister. So, all our characters are surprisingly deep in their own way. A lot of them are just like the bad cop cliche, or the disgruntled cop cliche, or the bad girl cliche. That's what they're used for the basis, but then we have a whole other level of depth below that. And this film genuinely makes you really care for them. And you want to see them succeed. You want to see them kill the characters played by Elijah Wood and Benicio del Toro. You want to see them take these guys down because of what's happened to them, and you can sympathize them with it in a way. In fact, surprisingly, a very emotional scene is when Bruce Willis, he kind of realizes he has to die to save this girl who he loves. And he shoots himself. It was surprisingly a powerful scene. because that's what we had for character depth. The characters were that likable. The acting, all across the board, the acting was fantastic. That's really all I'm gonna say. But we got actors like Bruce Willis, Jessica Alba, Mickey Rourke, Jamie King, Clive Owen, Brittany Murphy, Nikki Stahl, Michael Clark Duncan, Elijah Wood, Bianca Del Toro, I already said him, Devon Aoki, and Alexis Bledel. A couple of those guys I hadn't heard of until now, but you know what? If I saw them in other movies, I'd love to. In fact, Elijah Wood probably gives the creepiest showing in this whole film, despite never saying a word. You want to know what I mean? Go watch the movie. So my biggest complaint, though, is that the stories, they're really hard to follow, and you never really know which one you're watching until they kind of say the title in the story. And I think it would be easier if this was supposed to be an anthology film, if they kind of had like a title or something, or like just a billboard which had like coming soon, this movie, which also happened to be the name of the title that the segment was. I figured that could help, and they used a lot of cliches, and yeah, they worked, they were fine, the movie was awesome, and it looked really good. I believe this was fairly loyal to the comic. The special effects are kind of what this movie is going to make or break a lot of people. Want to know why? One, the whole film's in black and white, and two, this had a really low budget. So a lot of the gunshots, a lot of the cars, a lot of it looks really cheap, but at the same time it looks really, really like it came from like a comic book, which is what you want in a comic book movie. So if you don't like black and white movies, this is not the film for you, just straight up avoid it. But yeah, that's kind of all I can say about it. Pretty much, the effects are cheap, but at the same time they look amazing in their own way. And the music, the score is awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The camera work is great. So when it comes down to it, do you guys think I can recommend Sin City? Totally. 3.5 raptor claws out of 4. The only problem, like I said, is the fact that I couldn't figure out which segment I was watching unless I was on IMDb, which I probably should have done before I started filming this so I could know what each segment was called, but yeah, you know what, live and learn. Anyhow, this is a fantastic comic book movie. It's probably one of the better comic book movies out there, and I know there's a sequel, and I can guarantee I will review that sequel. Sadly, though, I doubt there will ever be a third Sin City movie, because the first one, it took 14 years. No, it took 11 years. No, it took 9 years to get a sequel, and then the sequel kind of bombed at the box office. So I'm not expecting a Sin City 3. I can say though, I will go out and buy the Sin City comics and give them a read, because if they're anything like this, and I bet they are, because Frank Miller wrote them, and that guy's awesome when it comes to writing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be it's gonna be a good story and a good read. And that's all the time I have for this time, folks. Until next time, this is the Meteor Raptor saying keep cool, and I will see you guys around. Later.